hold on one second. I lost the thing. Oh, I'm such an idiot.
You guys are live.
Great, thank you. All right, good evening, everyone. This begins our September 17th, 2020 Zoning Board of Appeals hearing. And right now, I will turn it over to the chair to get started.
Okay, I'm ready. Hold on one second. I didn't have it ready. Here we go. Okay, good evening, everyone. We are meeting tonight under extraordinary circumstances. Our community, along with communities around the country and the world, have been observing social distancing and other health safety measures to slow the progress of the COVID-19 pandemic for several months. Pursuant to the State of New York Disaster Emergency Declaration and executive orders, as well as the local emergency orders issued by the mayor of the city of Rochester, we are authorized to hold this hearing virtually, subject to waivers of certain requirements of New York State Open Meetings Law and the Rochester Zoning Code. In addition, at a prior meeting, we amended the zoning board rules and procedures to allow us to conduct this hearing in the manner I will now describe. Primarily, these waivers involve the requirements for an in-person attendance at this hearing. The emergency orders permit us to hold this hearing by teleconference with no in-person attendance, allow applicant presentations by teleconference, and allow public comments, both in favor of and opposed to the application, to be submitted by email, by hard copy document mailed to the zoning office, or deposited in the secure drop box located in the link entrance or at the permit office of City Hall, or by call in to the hearing. Written public comments and requests to schedule the call-in comments were all required to be submitted by 5 p.m. yesterday, September 16th. Although the conduct of this hearing has been altered from some of our normal procedures, many things remain the same. All the normal notifications for this hearing, including mailed notice, publication, and the posting of notice, were followed. All the normal timeframes for applicant presentations and comments in favor of and opposed to the application remain the same. The normal staff report was prepared and posted on the city website. And most importantly, this board will hear, review, and make decisions about all the applications with the same diligence and using the same standards as required by zoning code. Before we begin, I would like to explain the ground rules of this hearing. When a case is called, the applicant will be allowed 15 minutes to present their case to the board. The applications and full staff reports were all posted on the city website at least a week ago and were available for the public to review. All applications were advised to ensure that their applications were complete and included all information that they intend to present at this hearing tonight. As the application is being presented, staff will identify and show the pages of the application that the applicant is addressing in their presentation. Following our normal procedure, the board members may ask the applicant questions about the application. After the applicant's presentation is complete, any scheduled call-in comments will be heard and staff will read into the record any written comments that were submitted after the staff report was posted on the city website. All public comments will be limited to 10 minutes if submitted by a neighborhood association and 3 minutes for all other comments, and the reading of comments will be summarized to fit within these timeframes. If multiple submissions repeat the same comments, staff will summarize those comments. Public comments that were received in time to be included in the staff report will not be read into the hearing record. After the call-in comments have been heard and written comments have been read, the applicant will have 5 minutes to provide any rebuttal testimony. At the conclusion of the applicant's rebuttal testimony, the case will be closed. However, if the board determines that substantial new evidence has been presented by the applicant during the hearing, either during original or rebuttal testimony, the case will be adjourned and held over to the board's next announced hearing date in order to give the public the opportunity to review and comment on the new evidence. After completing all of the hearings on the agenda tonight, the board may take a short break, which will be announced. After the break, the board will commence deliberations and voting on all the applications, except any application that has been adjourned to another meeting date. Please note that if your case is approved today, a written decision will be mailed to you within 15 business days. The decision will inform you of the next steps to complete the approval process. Before we open the first case, please note that we all are volunteers. I would like each of the board members to confirm their presence for purpose of a roll call and establishing a quorum for this hearing, and to introduce themselves and mention their area of expertise. So we'll start with Jim.
Good evening. My name is Jim Best. I live in the northwest quadrant of the city. I was a telephone engineer for just under 50 years.
Lashana?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lashana Booz. I live in the Northwest quadrant also, and my background is contract administration.
And Joe?
My name is Joe O'Donnell. I live in the northeast section of the city, and I'm a practicing architect.
And I'm Tyrese Bryant. I live in the southwest section of the city, and my background is in urban planning, and I work in real estate and land use development. So I'll turn it back over to Matt.
Okay, we will get started. Case number 1 is file number V-012-2021. It's an area variance at 1260 Lyle Avenue, located in the M1 Industrial District. Applicant is Jim Colombo of Skylight Signs, and the purpose is to install one detached 6-foot tall, 32 square foot monument sign with a digital message board not meeting certain sign requirements.
Thanks, Matt. Hey, Jim, how are you doing tonight?
Good. How's everybody doing today? I really appreciate this effort, this extra effort to get this going and along with everybody else too. I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you good, and we appreciate that. So I'm going to swear you in, and we're going to get started for your 15 minutes, okay?
Yep.
Okay, do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, the floor is yours, 15 minutes.
Thank you. Jim Colombo, Skylight Signs, 60 Industrial Park Circle, representing Rochester Optical for a double-faced 4x8 digital message center in front of their property on Lyle Avenue. As the package, gentlemen, everybody, I'm sorry, like ladies and gentlemen, have in front of you, the size, the height, and location are all code compliant. I am just here to get a variance for the digital portion of the sign, which will be in compliance with your ratification tonight. Willing to answer any questions about the sign itself tonight. And if that's, I'd like to fire away at the sign itself, or your thoughts about digital in that area, which is basically an industrial district / commercial, I would think. And there will be no detriments to anybody around there. Once the sign is up, it will be decorated with flowers or whatever. I think he might be putting 2 pillars up. He's unsure of that, but we went with the basic brick for now. Once we do have final input on the final design, if he does a different style brick, if you want to see that, I will forward that too.
Okay, Jim, thanks so much. We'll jump right into questions. We'll start with Jim.
Mr. Colombo, this is probably something you can't answer. I do know that in your report, you're mentioning different things that can be done for the neighborhood, such as the time, temperature, or various warnings or issues. Do you know if your client has contacted anybody from the local neighborhood group?
To my knowledge, I don't have any knowledge of that. No, I don't.
Yeah, I didn't think you would. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Lashana?
What's her name? No questions.
And Joe, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I guess the only thing I'm thinking about is that the need for the digital. I mean, if you're just messaging time, temperature, and public messages, I mean, people get those on their cell phones, on alerts. And I'm just wondering why it has to be digital if that's all you're promoting. Is that
I'm sorry, Joe, that wasn't explained that. I don't think he's just promoting that. Those are the advantages to it in promoting Rochester Optical.
Well, I understand it'd be the business sign, but why does it need to be digital if it's Rochester Optical and then time and temperature, which I can get in my car, my phone, and then Amber Alerts or whatever, I get on my phone, I get on the digital boards in the expressway. So that to have it digital just for a couple other messages, that's the struggle I'm having. I mean, right now it looks like it's just a big flat screen TV on top of a brick wall.
Well, there's not going to be any video run on it. It's not going to be a video board. It's just a digital sign that will change between every 8 and 10 seconds. There will be no flashing, no rotating. You fade in, you fade out with a certain message for Rochester Optical, a certain, whatever the case may be, time and temperature, Amber Alert. And that's as far as it can go. This is what the customer wanted. And as of now, 2020, 2021 coming, I've never seen the need is more important for digital signs because of what's happening.
Explain that one to me. I don't understand that.
Well,
Why do you-
there's numerous things with reminding people about masks, reminding people as they sit at that light there and the sign's looking them in the eye for 5-10 seconds that they forgot their mask, or they forgot about the 6 feet distance. They forgot, certain things that in the area now, they know this missing person on there that they're looking for. Very essential to any information in the neighborhood.
I don't know. I mean, believe me, I've approved almost all digital boards we've had, but these have been for churches that announce certain services, certain times when they're having free meals, mass times. The Armory would it not, as a digital board, they announce different times for shows and things like that. This one, I don't know.
It's got a digital billboard that you guys approved on Route 490 on 490 West going in front of the Freddie Sue Bridge. There was no problem getting a permit for that, which is 4 times the size of that one. And I understand it's on 490.
Yeah.
My thought is totally digital because of the era. And I think people must have to keep up the times. Rochester is behind on the times as far as local cities.
I got nothing else.
Okay, thanks very much. One thing I just want to that I did not announce, and I think is important, not for Jim, but for all of our applicants. Tonight, we only have 4 board members. So for cases to be approved, it must obviously for a quorum, 4 of us must all vote in favor. If not, it's unfortunately a default denial. I apologize for not mentioning that in my opening statements, but just I want to make that clear so everyone understands that, because it's only 4 of us tonight. My questions were in line with Joe. This one I definitely am struggling with because when I was out there today and when I was reading through the application earlier this afternoon, I was just trying to understand, as Joe detailed, what else, what did you really need it for? Because I mean, because obviously the business owner could do, I think, a great monument sign with just, this is their business. And in the application and in your oral testimony, I still haven't been convinced what is the need for the digital piece of the sign. And I'm just not there yet.
I can give you the reason why he approached me on digital. At the present time, in the between driveways, and I don't know how many years it's been, he's been putting up cement bollards to keep overnight trucking parked there, where he puts up this 4x8 foot sign in front of his entrance there. Trucks turn around in there and they squeeze in between there, making it very, very dangerous. Okay, this would help the area as far as alerting these truckers that next past this sign is where you have to turn, not where the bollards are. This was his main concern. He said, if I get digital out there warning these truckers because they're there so frequently, that would be immense help.
Gotcha. Thanks so much, Jim. We're going to see if we have, I believe we do have a call in. So it'll be my first call in. Matt, for a public testimony.
Yes. Anna, do we?
It looks like the individual has not set up yet. Let me, there is a name that I don't recognize in the wait room. Hi, Caroline. Do you mind unmuting yourself real quick to let us know which case you're here for?
Sorry, just listening as a public interest project.
Okay, are you here to provide public testimony on any of the cases?
No.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. It looks like the individual who signed up to provide public testimony is not present.
There's no additional feedback that came in with this one. So
Okay, so with no public testimony, Jim, we appreciate it, and we're going to close case number 1. Thanks so much, Jim.
Thank you very much for your time, everybody.
all right, gonna jump down to case number 2. Case number 2 is a use variance, file number V-013-2021 at 3018 Emerson Street, located in the R1 Low Density Residential District. The applicant is the property owner, Odula White, and the purpose is to reestablish the use of the property as a 2-family dwelling which has lost its rights as a result of an extended period of vacancy.
Odula, are you with us?
She should be there. Odula, can you hear us? I'm gonna unmute this. Give me 1 second, guys.
I'm here.
Hello.
There we go.
How are you doing tonight?
I'm pretty good, thank you. And you?
I'm doing well. So I'm going to swear you in and then I'll let you, and then I'll give you the floor. So let me swear you in and we'll get started. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you are about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
The truth.
Okay, 15 minutes. Go right ahead.
Okay. My name is Odula White and I'm calling about 318 Emerson Street. My whole purpose is the average rent for an 891 square feet house in our region is $1,059. This is the same thing as 1,059 individual divided by 891 equal to 1.18 square feet. If use of these to change rent, then for 1,800 square feet rent would be $21.39 per month. This is not realistic. 59% of the people looking for a house to rent will be looking for a house that rent between $701 to $1,000. As rent goes up, that percentage gets smaller really fast. So I could not want to set rent as a level that would cause the house to be vacant for any length of time only because rent is too high to capture the largest number of people looking for a house to rent. A vacant house will cost me money since my startup investment is $40,000. Most of that will be the cost of material that I hope to purchase on my Home Depot credit card. The rate of interest of this card is 24.99%. Considering anything I should not want to paint, to plant, to rose a picture, nothing is guaranteed as a rate of return is concerned. I do not think that the rate of return I have submitted is unrealistic. I do not believe it would be wise to plan based on a higher rate of return. Changing rate based on how many square feet in the house will lead on realistic rent and a rate of return that is just not realistic. So all I'm trying to do is try to keep the neighborhood vacant for rental people to rent instead of putting as a big family home and I won't get anybody to rent it out. Just trying to keep the neighborhood very simple.
Okay, thank you so much. And we're going to have the board members ask you some questions, okay?
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to start with Jim.
Matt, could you do me a favor and put the next page on the screen?
Yep. Give me just 1 second and I will do that.
I'm looking for the page that you've emailed away.
Yep, I'm gonna pull it up right now. I just gotta switch screens. Bear with me 1 second.
Thank you.
Too many screens going here.
Okay, my first question has to do with the average annual interest over 5 years. I think you marked down as $3,000. Is that the interest on your home card?
Say that again.
The $3,000 per year for interest, is that the interest for the materials you have to buy from Home Depot?
Yes.
when you rent the,
Because the interest rate is 24.99%.
thank you. Um, Under operating expenses, it appears to me that when you rent this place out, that whoever does the renting is gonna be paying for their own electric, their own gas,
Yes,
pure waters.
I usually pay for water.
All right, I just didn't see a figure in there for that. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Jim. Lashana?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions about the financials. So you're saying that an 1,800 square foot house, can you confirm how many bedrooms are included in that 1,800 square foot?
The downstairs apartment got 1 bedroom and the upstairs apartment got 2 bedrooms.
So it would be the total property would be a 3-bedroom property.
Yes, and the third floor
Correct.
also got a bedroom too. So
If you were splitting this back up, you would have a property that has 1 bedroom on the lower and 3 bedrooms on the upper, correct?
correct.
No, I'm gonna jump in here real quick. Odula, so if you were to have to take the kitchen out of the second floor, that would create a bedroom, right?
No, not at the position where it is.
But if you had to deconvert it to a single, the board member's asking if you were to deconvert it as a single and have to take that second kitchen out that belongs that's currently in the second floor unit, you'd have to convert that kitchen to a bedroom.
Well, the position where this is in the house, it do not suit a bedroom.
What would you do with it if you had to take the kitchen out?
It would just be like an open room, but the
Just an
house is
open
such
room.
a huge house to do that in a one family house. It's just too huge for it.
Right, and then you have the living room on the second floor too.
Yes.
And the reason, I'll just get right into the reason I'm asking these questions, because I wanted to kind of get the total number of rooms in the house under the 1,800 square foot, because what you're indicating that the monthly charge of $750 for a entire home for 1,800 square foot, it just doesn't seem.
No,
It seems a little bit on the lower end. I'm not even sure if that's market rate. So that's the question that I would ask.
No, I said the monthly rent, if I break it down into one, it's going to be $21.39 per month. I just said it there, per month, $2,139.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at what you submitted to the board. So maybe, I guess I need to back up a little bit to understand how much you would exactly be charging for monthly rent on an 1,800 square foot property.
Okay, I would do 1,700 for the month instead of 2,139 if it stays as 2 apartments. So I would do the 1 room for 700, and then I would do the second floor as 1,000.
That's not what she's asking.
Right. Thank you, Matt. I'm just trying. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, let me try to jump in here. So, Odula, because you're trying to keep it a 2-family, so the code says it has to be a single family. So the question is, if you had to take the kitchen out of the second floor, take the living room out, make bedrooms out of those, and the whole property functioned as 1 dwelling unit, 1 single family dwelling, what would you charge for rent for just 1 1,800 square foot dwelling unit?
I would have charged $2,139.
$2,139?
Yes.
And you would be able to get that rent based on?
I wouldn't be able to get that rent because of the middle of the city, because of the neighborhood.
So you would want to charge $2,139. What number do you think you'd be able to charge based on what you're describing?
So if I keep it as 2, I would charge 1,700.
But if it was what could someone rent a 1,800 square foot single family home for? There.
2149. That
But
is
you
what
said
the
you
market
can't get
price
that.
is. And I can't get that.
You can't get that. What would you be able to get? If you were forced to rent that as one single family home, what do you think you could rent it for?
I probably would have rented for 1,500 for just a single.
Okay, do you think you'd be able to get that amount of money there?
I would, but then I wouldn't be able to pay any of my bills with that
Okay,
type
so
of
the
rent.
amount that you would get would go down.
That's right.
Okay. Hopefully that helps.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to get clarification on the financial statements as I'm looking at it. So it sounds like the amount that you've indicated is you would charge $1,500 for a single family home, correct?
Yes, and then that wouldn't help with the bills.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, one last question. You currently don't have a mortgage on this property, correct?
No, I don't.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Lashana. Joe?
Just a quick statement, not even a question. First of all, Odula, I think you investing this money in this neighborhood is a wonderful thing. When I drove down there earlier today, it's in bad shape, that neighborhood. And
Yes, it is.
I applaud you for making an investment in there. Normally, I would probably reject this application because of the financials, but I hope you make a lot of money there and keep reinvesting in there. So I'm just making a statement that I think what you're doing is great. I agree 100% with you. You're not going to be able to rent a single family home in that neighborhood for anything that can have a reasonable return. And I just, normally I would say I need more financial information, but in this case, I just think it's great that you're investing in that. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Odula, what I will say, good luck. I'll be praying for you. That's all the questions that I have.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Matt, we didn't have any public comment, correct?
No public comment on this. And I'm going to jump back to the other screen while we do this here. Testing my technological capabilities here. Okay. All right, so no public feedback, none came in prior to the publication of the staff report and none since.
Okay, thanks very much. Odula, we're going to close your case. So close case number 2. Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay.
All right, we will jump into case number 3, which is file V-014-2021. It's an area variance at 646-648 Thurston Road, located in the R1 low density residential district. Property owner David Reynolds is the applicant, and the purpose is to install approximately 95 feet of 6-foot tall stockade fencing along the Sheldon Terrace frontage of a corner property, not meeting certain fencing requirements.
Hi, David. Are you with us?
This is Marquis Fulton, property manager.
I was just going to say, yeah, he's the property manager. The applicant on the application is the property owner, but
Great.
Mark is
Mark,
here.
how are you doing tonight?
I'm all right, everybody. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing pretty good. I'm going to swear you in and give you the floor. So do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you are about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, 15 minutes. The floor is yours, sir.
Okay, I'm trying to get a fence on the property at 646, 648 Thurston Road. It's a corner house off of I think it's Walgreens now. But I'm trying to get the fence on the side of Sheldon because I have loitering that is very bad. When I had the property in the fence for over 10 years, Dave Reynolds is my grandson. When I had the property though over 10 years, and I've had problems. I have kept trying to keep the people from loitering on the wall. This is something they might have been doing for many years. I'm not sure, but I know there's some type of activity going across the street. I have tried different things to try to, deter from my side of the street. I'm really animate on trying my best to get good tenants. I have a senior, Maggie Irwin, who is 72 on one side, and a family of Miss Ross that had 4 children on the 646 side, which is more on the side of the Sheldon side. So when the kids are out playing or trying to be out in the front, you have tons of men who sits on the wall. We have tried putting signs up, informing them that no loitering, no sitting. They take my signs down. I put a floodlight up. I don't know if y'all drove by. It's up there, but they break it. So they take it and break it so that the light don't flash. I have went to the net office. They say call the police. We have called. The tenants have called. Sometimes there's some arrests, things like that. But you have to be mindful that they wonder where it comes from. Then they, do things to the property, some threats, things like that. So I'm trying to just put a fence up to deter them from this. I tried to put something up on the wall, but they put board up there so they could sit down. I can't put rocks or different little things poking up because I thought of that. But there's children and they run in the front yard, and if they fall on something that's poking up, it wouldn't work. So only thing I could think of is to put up a fence. If you put a fence up, they will not be able to sit there. If I put the fence up on top of the wall, it can mess with the structure of the wall, and I'm afraid of that. And if I put it on the grass part of that, they still be able to sit their tush a little bit on the wall. I'm trying to deter them from having anywhere to sit on this side of the property. Then whatever happens on the other side, or whatever going there, they don't have anywhere on my side. This where, if you go on my side on any night, it could be 50 to 100 people literally on this side of the property. And I have tried a lot of things, and the only thing I can think of, if I put up a 6-foot stockade fence, you still can see the beauty of the house because the wall is like 3 feet already. So I'm thinking if you put it up, you still be able to see the beauty of the house because the house sit up high. So it shouldn't take away from the neighborhood at all, but it will stop the activity here. I went over there the other day, 2 days ago, and the senior citizen, Maggie Irwin, was trying to tell me that they put trash in her can and she don't even drink. Look at all the beers. And while she was trying to inform me, the people are out there and they started saying vulgar that they've been here 20 years and they're not going anywhere. I'm trying to keep good tenants in the neighborhood, and I'm trying to keep my property up. If you go inside of my property, believe me, it is very well kept. And I try to give tenants a good place because I know maybe the activity outside can be deterrent. So if you give them a nice place to go into, then it can keep them. If we can block that fence, it can give the property so the people feel more secure and be able, the kids can play out front without worrying about grown men sitting on the wall. And that's the only thing I could come up with that would be the next alternative. I thought of the stockade fence. They won't have anything to peek through, to go through, to sit anything on. They want to sit their bottles, whatever stuff. I have a lawn company that come out and do the lawn. I have to pay them just to clean up all of the cigarette butts, all of their bottles, all of their wrappers. I have to pay them to pick that up at the same time they doing my lawn. So I think if I can get this help from you guys, it can help the neighborhood. Because then if they can't sit here, then where are they going to go? More over across the street or somewhere else, but they won't have a place to sit and be there until 2 and 3 and 4 in the morning playing music when her kids have to go to school or now get up for Zoom, or the seniors on the other side. So she just a little worried when she come in the house. So what I'm doing for her, we've seen how the fence work. I'm redoing the garage, and so she'd be able to pull in. But the thing is, I got to put a door on the other side, and all that's another stuff I have to go to, so she can just get out and go to the little walkway and don't have to be, because she's a good tenant, and I'm trying to keep her. And I talked to Miss Ross, and she said she have asked them plenty of times not to sit there. Sometimes she do let them sit there because she says less confusion. But if they had nowhere to sit, then she won't have to say anything. She just keep her kids in the house at a certain time, and they just been dealing with it. So that's what we've been dealing with, and I'm hoping you guys can help me. If you have another alternative, but I didn't try it all. The net office, they all been calling me, and they told me to just keep calling the police. And I did try to confront the young man. I am a pastor. I know how to communicate with people, and they want to fight. Some of them was respectful. They moved off the wall at the moment. One jumped up on top of the wall and said, "I ain't moving nowhere." I'm not going to fight with you, young man. I'm just asking, would you please take and go across the street or wherever you like to go? So I have tried other things. I do go a different time to time. I have workers go over there. And, because you have to maintain your property, I just be very polite. I ask, and I just keep it moving and trying to keep my tenants to have a nice, healthy, and safe place. I understand what area I'm in, but if we all work together, you just keep on working and working, and progress and things should change. And I always say that, they out there today, and they may not be out there tomorrow, because they come and do arrests, and they may take 6 away, and I'll be like, good. But then, another few more may come across the street or whatever activity that they're doing. I tell them that I'm not here to cause y'all any problems. I'm just asking you not to sit on here. This is how I work. This is my work over here. I'm trying to take care of this property, and the tenants here do not want you sitting here. So I don't know if I answered all your questions. I don't think it would deter it. I do have a chain link fence up front, which is good. I have no problem with that. But I know now, in regard to trying to make sure that the area look nice and surrounding, you want the surroundings to still look like a nice area and so on. So I think the stockade fence will give them nowhere to see through the fence, and it be able to instill and keep everything intact. So I think that's it for me.
Thank you, Mark. Really appreciate it. And we're going to go through some questions from the board members, and let's see what they have to say. So we'll start with Jim.
Very well presented, Mr. Fulton. I had a couple of questions, but you answered both of them. You mentioned it's about 3 feet from the ground to the top of that area right now, and a 4-foot fence would not help you because it could still sit on the wide spot and just dangle their feet over. My biggest question had to do with why a solid fence. But when you explained that if it was partly open, or if you had visibility, they'd just throw stuff through there and you get stuck picking it up again. So frankly, you've answered my questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jim. LaShawna?
I don't have any questions.
Thank you, LaShawna. Joe?
Just again, what Jim said is a solid fence. I agree 100% with it. I just hope they don't vandalize that on you. So
I
good luck
know.
with that.
I know.
And that's going to be a billboard, I think. But I
have some grandsons. They'll be over there painting it.
Okay.
Good summer work. We just got to keep on working. You just have to keep going. They paint it, you just stain it. You just got to keep doing it.
Yeah, I guess that goes into my question that I had for you was the material on there. And I hope that you do maintain it, because I know how those wood fences over time, and us living in a very wintry area, that definitely decays over time. So I just hope that folks can just maintain that for the area. And I live in the 19th ward, so I understand your concerns most definitely. And I have no questions for you, and I wish you the best of luck. Do we have any public comment on this one, Matt?
No, we do not.
Okay, so we're gonna thank you so much, Mark. We're gonna close your case, and good luck to you.
All right, thank you all, and have a great evening.
You too.
Okay, we will jump into case number 4, file V-015-2021. It's an area variance at 147 Hillcrest Street, located in the R1 Low Density Residential District. The applicant is Don Arroyo, and the property owner, and the purpose is to install approximately 70 feet of 5-foot tall picket style aluminum fencing in a portion of the front yard of a single family dwelling exceeding the height requirement.
Thanks, Matt. Hey, Don, are you with us?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to swear you in and let you have the floor. So do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you are about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, 15 minutes. The floor is yours, okay?
Okay. Hopefully this is a straightforward one. We have a fence, an existing fence. It's on a side lot. So if you're looking at our property, the house actually sits on one lot alone. And then the property to the right is the fenced in, a different lot that's fenced in on the side yard. On the other side of the driveway, there's another lot as well that we own. But we're mainly asking about this fence in the front of the side lot on the right. So I wanted to make sure that you knew that we were just replacing existing fence. The fence is not going to extend across the front of the house in any way. The chain link fence that's there would be replaced with aluminum. It's going to be a lot better looking. It'll make the neighborhood look better, as well as making it conform to code. Because right now, there shouldn't be any chain link in the front. So it's going to look better. It'll be stronger, more durable. It'll give us more security for our home. It's not going to affect any visibility, and it's not going to affect anyone else's property because we're just replacing an existing fence. The variance is a very small variance. So we're only asking for an extra foot on the code. And we've chosen, the chain link fence, with it being part of the against existing code. On our street, nobody else has any chain link fence. So that'll get rid of all of the chain link fence for the area. It's going to make us in code. And we've also, with this style fencing that you're seeing right now, the small pickets in the front, it's called a puppy guard. So we chose this fence in particular because not only do we have big dogs and small children, but this is the fence that's going to be facing the sidewalk and the street. So we wanted to make sure that there wasn't any issues with pedestrians that are walking by, whether it be with the children or the dogs. And I think that's pretty much it. I'm really just reiterating everything that I put in the application. So I'm not really sure that I'm telling you anything different. But I think that's about it. So I can answer any questions that you have.
Okay,
Hopefully it's a little more straightforward than the others.
Thank you so much. We'll see what everyone has to say. I'll start with Jim.
I know, of course, we're talking about the fence that borders Hillcrest Street. Are you replacing the same, all the fence that's highlighted in blue in that map that Matt just had up there a few minutes ago?
Yes, correct. So it's going to enclose that whole side yard. It's going to go from the house all the way back. So that whole side lot is going to be enclosed. And then the across the entire back of the property as well.
Is it all going to be 5 feet tall?
Yes, sir.
Now tell me about the fence. I'm looking at they're not barbs, but there's some kind of a little design at the top. What is that design? What actually is that, a cap of some sort?
It's
Right.
it's kind of like a it's called a what?
A finial.
A finial? My husband's telling me. I really don't know. It's kind of like a little pointy thing on top. And it's as well on the puppy guard too. It's got like a little tiny raised part. It's not sharp, but it's kind of, it's pressed and it comes up.
And of course, that was my question, is how sharp is it? So thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Jim. Thank you so much, husband. We appreciate it.
Right, thank you.
We'll go to LaShawna.
I don't have any questions.
Thank you. We'll go to Joe.
Just one comment. Would you be willing to pull the fence back to align with the front of the house instead of bringing it all the way to the sidewalk?
That was something that we thought of. But the reason why we wanted it to come out further was for the dogs to be able to see the front of the property. It's part of the security that we were thinking of. If it comes up past the front of the house, then the dogs are able to see the front of the property as well as the driveway and the front door for the front steps. So if you were standing right where the inside of
Yep,
the
I
fence
get it.
meets, then
Okay,
you'd be able to see the front of the property. So we were really trying to
Good.
keep where it is,
okay, thank you.
right, so they can see the front, and if anyone was coming on the property, they would, of course, bark.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Joe. I don't have any questions. Did we have any public comment for this?
No, no public comment for this property.
Okay, Don, thank you so much. We're going to close your case and you have a great evening, okay?
Thank you, too.
All right, get started here with case number 5, file V-016-2021. It's an area variance at 10 Reliance Street. Zoning district is R1 low density residential district. The applicant is Cecilio Catedral, property owner, and the purpose is to install approximately 94 feet of 6-foot tall stockade fencing in a portion of the front yard of a corner property exceeding the height and opacity requirements.
Cecilio, are you with us?
Yes, we're here.
Oh, great, great. Who do we have with us tonight?
So I'm gonna be, my name is Cesar Catedral and I'm his son and I'm gonna be his interpreter.
Oh, great, great. Thank you so much. We're going to swear you guys in. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you are about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, 15 minutes. The floor is yours.
All right, so the purpose for this fence that we're trying to build around the house is to ultimately keep us secured. Lately, there have been a lot of a homeless community activity around the house, and one of them actually came in the driveway looking for something, and so we're trying to avoid that. Also, when people walk on the sidewalk, they tend to, like, anything they're having or any trash they have, they just drop it off there, and we end up having to pick up after them. And starting this summer, there was a large community of racing cars that have been gathering at the plaza next to the house, and it goes from anywhere to like 11:30 at night on Sundays till like 1 a.m. And there's just too many cars over at the plaza. That basically, because they don't have enough spaces, they end up parking on the sidewalk right where our house is. So ultimately they're all in the property. So drinking and smoking, and we're looking for ways to avoid that.
Okay. Was there anything else? We can open up the questions.
No, there's.
Okay. We'll open it up to questions. Thanks. Okay, I'll start with you again, Jim. Jim, are you with us?
Sorry about that.
Oh, you're good.
You're talking about people that were parking on near or on your property. Were you talking about on Reliance Street?
Yes.
Okay. There's a short fence along on North Clinton right now, and behind it, there's a taller fence. Would that taller fence be going away?
Yes. So ultimately, that fence will go away, and the new one will be replacing that space.
Tell me why you're asking for a solid fence along that property.
Let me ask my dad real quick. ¿Por qué tú quieres una fensa como sólida en vez de una que tenga como espacio para adentro?
Como sólida. Yo la quiero poner, la que está pequeña, yo la quiero poner de 6 pies, porque se la.
Pero tú quieres ponerla con la madera así que no se vea nada para adentro.
Exacto, porque la gente no puede ver tu patio. Entonces, cuando los nenes están jugando ahí, pues eso le da más seguridad. Y cuando cuando los nenes están ahí, yo temo porque yo no puedo usar esa parte. Y la persona de noche, cuando quiere cruzar para ahí, puede cruzar.
All right. So his major concern would be privacy and security. He states that his grandkids cannot play there, and he doesn't feel like when he's on that area of the property, he doesn't have much privacy because anyone could really just walk in.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Lashana?
Hi, my question is along the lines of what Jim just questioned in regards to, except for I'd like a little bit more information about the type of material you're looking to use.
Yes. So the material will be madera, right? Wood. So
Have you considered any other options that would allow for you to have some type of transparency at the top?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
Have you considered any other type of materials that would allow for some type of transparency at the top so it's not the full 6 foot?
Que si tú has considerado otro tipo de material.
¿Como cuál, por ejemplo?
Como, exacto, como transparente. Como
que la madera, me imagino que la menos.
Como decir una verja de metal que tú puedas ver.
Sí, si ellos lo consideran así, yo lo puedo poner. Pero
Okay,
eso
so
no va a tener privacidad.
So what kind of material would you be referring to?
So like I know like when for example like at my home I'm looking at fencing options and I know that like they offer options where it's like a 5 or 4 foot where it's a stockade and then there's like some type of transparency that allows for I forget what it's called. Can you guys help me out?
Yeah, so would you be open to potentially,
Lattice.
5 foot of the stockade, then a foot of the lattice, bringing it up? We just want to make sure that we have all this information because once we deliberate, you won't be able to, give us any answers. So that's just a question for your dad. Would he be open to, a 5 foot stockade, then a foot of lattice on top of that?
So yes, he will be willing to go to explore other materials.
Thank you. I don't have any further questions.
Thank you, Lashana. Joe?
No, I don't have any questions. I think the proper application is what the applicant is asking for. I live right around the corner from him. I drive by his house every day. It's a beautiful house. Appreciate you doing a great job in our neighborhood. And I know I have the same problem you do with the cars racing all through the night and the motorcycles. That I get it, why you want that privacy. So I'm okay.
Okay, thank you.
And I have no questions. So thank you guys. Do we have any? I don't believe we have any public comment for this either.
No.
And thank you guys so much. We're going to close your case. So have a great night.
Okay, thank you.
All right, last case of the evening is case number 6, file number V-017-2021. This is an area variance request at 33-35 Flower City Park, located in the R1 low density residential district. Applicant is John Pompa, the property owner, and the purpose is to legalize an expansion of asphalt in the rear yard of a 2-family dwelling, exceeding the maximum lot coverage requirement.
Thanks, Matt. John, are you with us?
See him there, we'll get him unmuted here.
Start video.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's it. Can you guys hear me or?
Yeah, I can hear you and I can see you. So I'm
Okay,
gonna.
there we go. My first time with the Zoom thing, so.
Oh, definitely understand. Definitely understand. How did you get away this long without using Zoom?
Good question. Very good question.
So I'm gonna swear you in and give you the floor. So do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you are about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, 15 minutes. The floor is yours.
Okay, so over 30 years ago, I've owned this property for quite some time. It's built three bedroom. It's a 2-family, 3-bedroom in each unit. It's a good sized home that is capable of 2 adults in each apartment, which would be 4 cars total if there were both apartments occupied. Or if I went the route of roommates, that would be 6 people. That's a lot of vehicles. So what I did was 30 years ago, there was only the 2 parking behind the house. It was a double. I hired a contractor who I thought did all the right paperwork, came in and said he did. Being a new homeowner, green behind the ears, I didn't know that I was supposed to get a copy of that. Unbeknownst to me, he never did apply for their permit. I found this out afterwards. Well, 30 years later, I want to get this done, and the contractor went down to get the permit and notified me of this, at which time I started this process. The driveway has pretty good wear in it. I'm simply looking to remove it, to replace the asphalt, to make it better for tenants, nicer for the neighborhood, so on and so forth. The project itself is behind the house. It's not visible from the street, so it's not an eyesore to anybody. Most people around that area have expanded driveways in their backyards because of that section of Flower City Park being a narrower roadway versus between Dewey and Lake Avenue, which is double wide. That area is single cars on one side, no parking on the other. So it helps tenants all the way around. The safety of a tenant. I had a tenant there with children who was very happy that she was able to pull into the back, unload her groceries without worrying about her kids in the street, so on and so forth. Me personally, I think it's a win-win with first responders, with snow plows, with anything like that that's going down the street, including damage to tenants' vehicles. A lot of times cars are coming down or wide trucks, mirrors get hit and vehicle damage gets done. So I do not allow them, it's right in the lease, to park unregistered, uninsured, inoperable motor vehicles, motorcycles, boats, etc. It's not a parking lot for storage. It's simply an expansion so that 2 people can park on one side, the other 2 people, and they have off-street parking, and it just gets the traffic off the roadway. Like I said, it's been there for 30 years. At this point, I'm looking to have it removed and repaved so it's nice again. It's all outlined. Mike Converse was the contractor 30 years ago, Allstate Paving, who did the job. I believe he's no longer in business. It just, I just wrote some notes. It just helps with the safety, enhance the quality of life for tenants in the city. Allows oncoming traffic, more room in the roadways, so on and so forth. That's really about all I have. There's no huge amounts of water runoff from the driveway because, as you can see, there's a yard. The driveway's pitched so that the excess water goes into that yard area. So it's not like there's tons of water going down the driveway. Let's see. So on and so forth. So that's really all that I have as far as the reason why the driveway has seen a lot of use. It's in rough shape. I simply want to get it replaced for my tenants so that they have a decent driveway to pull into, not have to park on the street, not have to worry about their safety.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, John. Just a quick question for me. Do you get the driveway plowed, or is it the tenant's responsibility to shovel work?
It's the tenant's responsibility with my approval.
Okay, just wondering, because I was just wondering about snow, if you did plow it, where was snow storage at?
Snow storage was, you see where the garbage cans are in the one picture?
Yes.
I have them, and I tell them to go through all this with them to push the snow over to that area so that it runs off back into the grass area. And it clears out the driveway for them also.
Okay, thank you. Let's see if
You're
anybody has any questions. Jim, go right ahead.
The garage is in the back. I know part of it is blocked off with some material in front. Ever park any cars in that garage?
No, the garage, the logs that you see there was a huge black walnut tree on the very corner of that garage. It was lifting the back corner of the garage up, making it very difficult to open and close the garage doors. Since then, I've taken it down, not to mention the mess that it caused around the neighbors' areas and their yards. So I did everybody a favor. And there's some certain things that are parked inside there, or not parked inside, but they're inside the garage. So they don't have access to the garage or parking in the garage.
Of course, part of this application is the lack of green space. Are you going to get rid of those trunks for that cut up walnut tree eventually?
I'm sorry, if what?
The cut up walnut tree, are you going to be getting rid of that eventually?
Oh, yes, those logs that are there. Yeah, half of it's already gone. The other half's going this weekend, actually.
Okay. Just come back to me in a couple minutes, okay? Thank you.
Will do, Jim. Lashana?
I'm all set, Tyrese. Thank you.
Okay, Joe?
My only concern is that, I'd rather see a better plan put together for screening of the vehicles. When I was out there this morning, your next door neighbors are fully exposed to a bunch of cars and blacktop. There's no landscaping plan. There's no fencing. So I'd like to see a much more enhanced plan to improve the backyard if I'm inclined to grant that much more asphalt. Because it's pretty unsightly back there. And the neighbor to the west is in the same boat. So I just think this is an opportunity to clean up some of these backyards with parking and that, like we've made so many people on Park Avenue do in that area. So I'd like to see more information on a much more cleaner, nicer plan for the back.
I understand that those logs that you see will be moved out of there. That's the lawn area. Those are 2 lilac trees. There's usually flowers in the back there. Unfortunately, this year it couldn't happen. There's not much more I can do back there other than I maintain the grass very nicely. I do plant flowers back there, and the lilac trees are always very well kept.
Okay, that's all I have.
Thanks, Joe. Jim, did you have any further questions? Sorry, I don't have any questions. So sorry, this is a quick one, Jim. I
just wanted to point out to my fellow board members, I went out last night during the changeover period of parking, and there were some spots still available at a little after 7 o'clock. I also went over this morning quite early to see if there's any spots available on the street, and actually there are. It's not like what we normally see on Park Avenue and Canterbury and Monroe. There is some space on the street. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't believe we had any public comment for this one. We
do.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
That's okay. I'm going to read this. This is the one that got forwarded on.
Oh, yes.
So need to enter this into the record. And this comes from Kim Hare of 38 Alameda Street. Dear Commissioners, I am submitting this letter in opposition to Mr. John Papa's request for a variance at 33-35 Flower City Park to legalize an expansion of asphalt in the rear yard of a 2-family dwelling exceeding the maximum lot coverage requirement. I interpret from his application that he is desiring to replace the existing paved area, which exceeds coverage as outlined in the city's code. I would like to first point out The error in the city staff report concerning this case where it states this case is not in code enforcement, that is an error. That is in error. I spoke with code enforcement as well and researched this property on the city's property webpage this week, and there is a current open enforcement case on this property listed on the city's website. Since Mr. Papa has no C of O on the property, it is unclear if additional violations would be added open in the case once an inspector is able to enter the premises and inspect it. Also, because the property has been vacant for almost 3 years, it has not been referred over to enforcement. I do not believe that the city should grant a variance because Mr. Papa is currently not compliant with the existing code and should not be rewarded for non-compliance by getting a variance. Let me explain. Mr. Papa has owned this property since 12/6/1989 per the city's website. I spoke with the city's code enforcement this week, who informed me that the C of O for this property expired in 2017 and that there is no current pending application for a C of O filed by Mr. Papa. Also, there is no record of lead testing as required by the city. Mr. Papa identifies himself as a responsible property owner, but failed to maintain a C of O or even apply for a new one on this rental property. While the property looks maintained on the outside, it is not known what the property is like in the interior or if there is exposed lead, which presents a health risk since the property has been vacant since 11/3/2017, almost 3 years. Securing a C of O and having a lead test should be required prior to granting any variance. Also, many tenants in the city of Rochester and specifically in Maplewood do utilize on-street parking for themselves and their guests without impeding traffic flow or emergency vehicles. There is ample on-street parking, so there is not a need to expand parking at 33-35 Flower City Park. I am asking that the Zoning Board of Appeals postpone a decision on Mr. Papa's request until such times as he secures a C of O on the property, which ensures it is up to code and safe, as well as securing lead tests for both units. This would bring him into compliance with the city code before granting him a variance. Respectfully, Kim Hare. And that is the only, that letter is all we received for public comment.
Thanks very much, Matt. John, you'll have 5 minutes, up to 5 minutes to rebut that testimony. So I'll go right ahead.
Okay, I received the letter this morning. A lot of discrepancies and untruths to the letter. As far as the code enforcement, I had tenants move out 3 years ago, at which time I hadn't done anything to the property as far as updates. They did a lot of damage on the inside. I felt it was a good time to go in and start renovating, update the kitchens and baths, which is what I started to do. I began that project, unfortunately ran into some personal financial problems, stopped the project for about a year. Code enforcement was aware of this. I spoke with Albert, and I have his letter right here. Albert Algarian from the city code enforcement. He was the inspector at the time. He actually came into the home. He actually looked at the home. He saw the home. He was aware of the old C of O, which was fine. Okay. I've been in touch with him throughout the entire process. Continued working on the property. Unfortunately, last year I suffered a major injury and had to have major surgery this past year, 3 months ago. So, and I've been out of work for almost a year now. Hoping to get back, but in the meantime, I've hired a contractor to come in and finish the bathrooms, putting the vanities in, the kitchen cabinets, the flooring. I take very good care of my property. I kind of took offense to her comments about identifies himself as a responsible homeowner. I wouldn't be spending my money and my own personal time and finances to update this house if I wasn't a responsible homeowner. I'm up on my taxes. I pay my water bill. I simply try to make a good living area, a place that I myself would want to live in for tenants, including the driveway. Okay. Well, she sat there and said that there's a risk of exposed lead that presents a health risk because the property is vacant. So I'm kind of baffled at that statement, that, okay, the property is vacant. If there was, which there is not, any kind of lead in there, who exactly is it a health risk for? So that I'm kind of baffled at. The ample on-street parking is simply untrue. I know one of the gentlemen said he had gone there this morning. In the city, or in this winter time, it's very difficult parking on that street. I know, I lived there for 15 years. So there's really not ample parking, but that's a matter of opinion. That street is a narrow street. And in the wintertime, when the snow falls and there's a lot of snow, it's very difficult to park on that street. Okay, it's not as wide as the other end of Flower City Park. So with that said, things are in place. Like I said, I hired a contractor to go in and finish that up for me, hoping to have it rented out in a few more months. I actually have been in contact with a new code enforcement officer. He sent me his name or his voicemail, but he has a very heavy accent. I'm not sure what his name is, but he's a new guy that took Albert's place. Albert moved on to another job. All right. But Albert was in that house a few years back. He saw what I was doing. He's well aware of it. So her statement about it's a code enforcement thing and I also have the application, which I paid for before I got injured, for the C of O to be conducted. I actually paid the application fee for that. So the things that Miss Hare put in this letter are simply not true when it comes to some of these items. And I just feel that with everything going on right now, pushing people out of the city because of an issue of parking on the street, to move to a suburb or something, or somewhere else where they do have off-street parking, I think it's not a good thing for the city. So I'm just simply trying to make a nice living area for my tenants. And I've always maintained that for the 30 plus years I've owned that house. I unfortunately, for the past few years, have run into some hard times. I'm getting back on my feet now and things are moving ahead, and I'm happy about that. I just want to get this stuff done now.
Okay, thanks so much, John. And
I want to clarify, I'm sorry to cut you off. I just want to clarify one thing about the public feedback, just so it's on the record. So the additional feedback came in, addressed obviously a lot of different areas. So as the applicant said during the testimony, this was a result of a recent permit being issued to repave the driveway in accordance with the survey map from when the home was purchased. So once that was issued and the contractor got their hands on it, said, this survey map doesn't match what's out there. And that's when it was discovered that the expansion never had a permit. So the reason the front of the staff report says the property is not in code enforcement is it's directly related to this case. It's not in code enforcement because the work wasn't done and then in violation. So the applicant is here trying to seek a variance to do that now. And that's the only feedback. So thank you.
Okay, thanks so much. Thank you, John. Have a great evening, and we're going to close your case number 6.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
And we are going to adjourn the September Zoning Board of Appeals hearing meeting.
Yes, this will conclude the September 17th Zoning Board hearing. Thank you to all applicants and all participants. The next scheduled Zoning Board hearing is October 22nd. The hearing is scheduled to be virtual and will be streamed on the YouTube page as this one is. If you have any comments or questions related to the zoning board or this hearing, please email staff@zoningboard@cityofrochester.gov or if you have any other questions. So we just need to take, up to you guys how long you want to take. We at least just need a minute to switch the stream over.
Let's just take a minute. I think we can go right into deliberations.
So we'll take a minute, we'll switch it over and jump back on.
The deliberations are live.
We lost Joe. He's there. Okay.
Howdy.
Thank you everyone for joining us. This is the deliberations for the September 17th zoning board hearing. During this time, the board members will review the cases and take actions by voting. There is no participation by applicants or the public. All right, so we can get started. Case number 1, 1260 Lyle Ave.
I guess I'll start with my comment first is, I was in total agreement with Joe on this one. Even when I was out there, I kind of stood out there and was, I think the sign would be more of a distraction because it's so close to that busy intersection. And again, I just didn't see that the applicant in its written or testimony really demonstrated to the board the need, looking at the standards, the need for the signage. It didn't come across to me. I don't know if anybody else it really came across, if it came across to.
No, and I agree. I mean, I would have rather had them say, you know, because they've got temporary signage out there that says store this way. You know, advertise specials, advertise what they do. Then I may have been more inclined, but
Yeah.
time, temperature, and wear your mask.
Yeah. And the same thing with the truck parking. I mean, that's what I do in site development all the time. We put up a sign that says no overnight parking or no trucks allowed. So I think that's an easy little sign to put up, because I do that all the time at different locations with the tractor trailer truck. So yeah, I just wasn't buying that one either.
So it sounds like you two are in favor of the typical monument sign, not the digital. I have a problem with digital signs in the sense that we know something eventually is going to come up. It's not here yet. And we don't really know what's going to happen or how it's going to be used. So, I'm 50-50 right now. Just, yeah.
So Joe brought up a good point during the hearing, and I'm glad you mentioned it. Well, Joe and Tyrese. This is business signage, not like a place of worship or a place that has community gatherings that advertises for community events within the neighborhood. This is business signage.
Right. I don't think I can't remember us approving a digital sign for a business. I can't remember, maybe.
Yeah, I don't recall either.
It sounds like you. The only thing I was adding is that it sounds like you guys want to do something of lesser relief. Just cut the digital out altogether.
Yeah, that would be my lesser relief. It'd just be no digital, but you could have the 4x8.
It'd be code compliant then. He's only
They
here
don't
for the
need a
digital.
variance if it's not digital.
So it's not a lesser relief, it would just be a denial.
So, I mean,
because if they remove the digital component, it would meet the code and wouldn't be.
I know where I'm at, so I'm going to make a motion to grant.
I'll second your motion I'll second the motion to grant.
Okay.
All those in favor?
All right, before we vote, if this is declined, what do they have to do for a regular monument sign? Reapply?
No, they just
Get a permit.
they can just amend the permit, submit a new drawing, and we can issue it if the digital messaging component is not there.
You're doing roll call, right, Matt? Vote.
Yeah, I can do that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So we had a motion, we had a second, and now I will run through. Jim?
Deny.
Lashana?
Denied.
Tyrese?
Deny.
And Joe?
Deny.
Motion denied. Case number 2 is 318 Emerson Street.
Folks, before we move on from that one, can you provide some more language about what the reason for the denial is? Why a digital sign? Why they had not met the standards for a digital sign?
Okay, well, if we run through the standards, the benefits to the applicant outweigh any detriment to the health and safety welfare of the neighborhood. I agree with Tyrese. I think it's more of a distraction to passing traffic. The benefits to the neighborhood and community, I mean, the information they say they're going to display is something you can get in your vehicle, on your phone, and I just thought it was more detrimental to I mean, I know Lyle Avenue is Lyle Avenue, and it's the West Henrietta Road of the city, but I just didn't feel like it was it was belong there. So essential character of the area, I mean, there's a lot of signage on that whole intersection and that, so I would say that that's such a big deal. and no other remedy, I think there is definitely another remedy, which is just your basic monument sign that's non-digital and still gets the message across that this is where the business is. Significance, may not be that bad. I'd have to think about that one a little bit. But physical environmental
I don't know what
conditions.
community involvement I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, community involvement. He didn't, I mean, time, temperature, and wear your mask isn't really community involvement to me. So then self-created, obviously this is a self-created situation. So I think he fails on like at least 3 of the 5.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Case 2, 318 Emerson, open it up for.
Just an offline question, I guess. Is there has there been any initiatives? Because I haven't been over here in a while, and I mean, whoa, I was shocked. This neighborhood was in rough shape. Is there any like initiatives going on, or how does, you get, I mean, those houses were, it seemed like most of them were falling apart over there.
No, not that not on Emerson. There's no initiatives at this point, but there's definitely an interest in conversations that are being had.
Okay, it was in rough shape. That's my only. It was in rough.
Well, like I said,
I got out and I walked and I was out of. It was in rough shape.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the neighborhood conditions as part of the applicant's argument that if you have to remove a kitchen in that living room, it ends up putting like a 5 or 6 bedroom single family home.
I in general, just to kind of interject, and I apologize because I got a lot of busyness at my house tonight, but I am just not convinced with this one specifically. Specifically, when we start talking about financials, that's always a red flag for me. While I understand that and appreciate her initiative to want to invest in the neighborhood, I also think that realistically, what's going to happen, what's going to happen with the property in its current state and where it's at right now. So I know where I stand with this case.
LaShawn, I guess I don't understand what does that mean? I don't know what that means. What do you mean by where it's
number one, her financials were way off. She didn't even she recognized that number one, that what she put on the application was not what she would actually charge for that home. Number two, the dynamics of the neighborhood is changing in general when we talk about who actually is living in the neighborhood. And yes, that property could be rented with 5 or 6 bedrooms with it being converted, only because the overall dynamics of the neighborhood are changing. And basically who's going to be there. So I'm just not convinced that having it split as 2 is going to be the best option for her or present some type of benefit to that neighborhood. Or do you want me to go through all of the standards on where I stand with all of them?
I was just trying to understand. I really didn't understand what you meant by it, but I see where you are now. No, I just didn't understand what you meant by the first statement. I see it a bit, I don't know what the benefit would be either way, because I think if it's not I think she demonstrated it'd be too expensive for her to renovate it back to a single family, and she wouldn't get her rate of return back on the cost. And yes, I know she didn't present cost on what it would cost her to renovate it back to a single family. With this one, it was just tough because I think the best she would be able to do is a 2 family here to get some type of benefit for folks paying potentially a cheaper rent. But I understand where you're coming from as well.
Just a note here. So the property's been vacant for, as you all noted from your site visits, a very long time. 2013 is when it was flagged as vacant. So it may have actually been vacant prior to that time. So one of the things to consider with these in terms of getting the property back online, either as a two or as a single, many property owners come through our office, and when they find out it has to be deconverted, they don't even attempt to buy it because it's just, you know, it's too much. So part of the story with some of these lost rights cases in terms of the neighborhood is that it actually forces them to sit vacant longer because no one wants to buy them to be able to invest in them. So this is a case where it's obviously been vacant for 7 years or more. And this property owner, as she says in her application, actually lives in the neighborhood. So this is one of those ones where it definitely has had people look at it prior to. I think there's been some inquiries about it, but they shy away from it because they don't want it as a single. So I just share that information so you have that as part of the story in terms of the extended period of vacancy and why it's been vacant so long.
I've had problems with this form every once in a while, especially when the buyer purchases a house without a mortgage, has enough cash to pay for it, because that harms them when they try to justify how much income they're going to have. It hurts them, as a matter of fact. On the other hand, with the back and forth that LaShawna started about how much can you really get for rent, you know, she went everywhere from almost 2,200 down to 750 and back up to 1,500, et cetera. I played around with those figures, and she will make a profit, but the profit is very, very small. I don't have a problem with the financials on this.
Joe?
I'm good. I know where I'm at.
So I think
I want to dig into the financials a little bit more before you guys vote. So you're right. I think Jim just said she went up and down. I think once we got the clarity when LaShawna was asking those questions around the finances, she continually said 2139, and I think she was focusing on what it should go for based on a formula of square footage. That's what I took from that. But once you actually put the context in of how much you can get in the neighborhood, the number came down, and that's what you just talked about.
So, Matt, if I could, and I agree, but you know, the financials weren't great. We all know, even when we get applications with quote unquote good financials, there's always still that question. We've been doing this for how long now? But again, if I go through the standards, no reasonable return to convert it back to a single family home. I agree. I can't imagine how you could even make money converting that back and then trying to rent it out as a single family home. I just don't see where that return would be. To your point, Matt, people come in, they find out it has to be returned to a single family home, they walk away.
But it actually prolongs the vacancy.
Yeah.
I mean, because people
unique
continue to have-
circumstances is that you know, it has been vacant for so long and it was converted to a two-family. So when it was allowed. So I think that makes it a little unique. I think if it was a single family, still a single family, and she wanted to convert it to a double, that would be something that I would be opposed to. And again, the self-creation, you know, that was done when the zoning code was allowed. But essential character of the area, I think I noticed there was a couple doubles, actual built doubles in the neighborhood when I drove down the street. But I mean, the only thing that's essential character of the area is the way it looks right now. Is that it's in disrepair, and I think the houses adjacent to it were in the same condition. So
yeah,
it's going to come back. I mean, I think 37,000 in improvements, because 10 of that was purchased, is going to be light, even just to get it back to where it's going to look presentable. So you know, the other remedy is to convert it to a single family, but I just don't think that's economically feasible. So that's where I'm at on the standards. So I'm going to make a motion to grant.
I'll second the motion to grant.
Okay, I'm gonna poll Jim,
Grant.
LaShawna,
You're doing a poll or this is a roll call?
This is a vote. There's a motion on the table to approve the application. So I'm calling out to poll every, so it's an actual vote.
Deny.
Tyrese
Grant.
and Joe?
Grant.
So the motion is 3-1-0.
What can this applicant do after this decision?
So it's known as a default denial because 4 votes were not received. You have to have the concurring 4 votes for members. So it's deemed a denial and the applicant can proceed with deconverting it, or the applicant can return without having to wait the 2-year period and without having to request to come back. So if this applicant does decide that she would like to come back, what additional information would you all like to see as part of that application?
Well, certainly more, better thought out financial statement.
I mean, one of the things, I mean, Lashana, what else could she do specifically to improve her application next time around? Because she's probably definitely going to be coming back to get this approved.
Yeah, what information would you like to see included as part of that?
Okay, so one of the things I would like to see is definitely to clean up the financials. So just be a little bit more clear about, what it is that she's actually going to be charging the rent for, specifics about how it would be existing as it is, because she's asking, I guess for me, it was just because I know I'm watching how the neighborhood changes and I'm watching these houses that are a little bit larger go up for rent and they are going at a decent amount. I mean, I guess I don't.
Well, would it help,
I don't have-
LaShawn, if we held it? Is that what we're going after, Mark or
If we could,
Matt?
yeah, and said that's why I asked Matt
I don't
prior
want to.
to.
I don't want to make her wait 2 years. I'd be willing to go back and revise the vote to say hold it.
She doesn't have to wait 2 years. I mean, Joe, really,
Oh, okay.
it's not much different whether you hold it or
Okay.
keep the vote, because she can still come back. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, then. Let's leave it as is.
She did give a lot of pictures of the current of what the property looks like currently. But I mean, I guess I'd like to see some more specifics about, what she's saying she's doing as far as with the price of all these things that she's put up here. And maybe I'm just a little bit
No, it's okay.
out of touch. Maybe I haven't been looking at this for a while, so I'm missing some of the things, but for me, it just wasn't.
Okay.
Well, let's say you need some better information. For example, what you said, if they had to become a single family, she'd have a living room on the 2nd floor and the 1st floor. That just didn't make any sense to me. Now, of course, if she comes back pretty soon and she has 6 or 7 members, she might pass anyway. But I would like to have better financials the next time it comes across.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Matt, if that's all noted. I just think that
I got to tell you, yep.
I think part of it is the individual's communication style, and I just don't see how that is going to be any different next time, how the information is conveyed and communicated to us. So, but that's my only comment. So that's fine.
Yeah.
Because and then I guess to go along the lines, and maybe I'm just going on, but just to kind of get clear, what when she says replace water heaters and furnace, you know what I'm saying? Does it mean that she's replacing, are there 2 existing? And so she's saying that in order to convert it back to the one, she's replacing, this house needs 2 furnaces and 2 heaters, just some clarity around that stuff. I guess for me, it was just like the whole application was centered around, already doing the 2. And I know that's one of the issues we always have when it comes to the deconversion stuff, which is why sometimes I have challenges with it. And I like to hear the conversation that we have to kind of help clear up some of the questions that I have. And for this, it just wasn't, for me, it just didn't click.
as to what exactly she was doing or what would need to happen if she kept it the single, because it looks like everything that we have from my perspective, and maybe I'm wrong, it just looked like she is already planning to do a conversion. Does that make sense?
Well, it's not a conversion, it's already a two-family, so she would be leaving it as it is.
Okay.
So it's costs associated with having to remove a second kitchen, cap all the plumbing, have all that removed. So it's not that she's trying to do a conversion, it's she's trying to continue to do something that's been that way for however many years. So it would have been
Got it.
converted at a time when she had it, and she's looking to continue to operate it that way. So she wouldn't be doing anything to it. Just
So I
I
would
shouldn't
just
say
need
not
to-
doing anything, but maintenance.
So I guess then my question would be then, what would be the costs? Are these costs that I'm looking at right now the cost to remove those things or to keep those things? Does that make sense? Now that you've said that to me.
Yeah, so these costs here are the things that she has to do to it to reoccupy the house as it currently sits in its configuration.
Okay.
So you're looking at those project details that are included in the application. So these are things that have to happen as it currently is without even having to reconfigure the property. So as it sits now, it was last used as a two-family. That's how it still is. These are all the things that she is claiming, that the applicant is claiming have to be done to be able to get it to have a certificate of occupancy.
Okay.
So if you look at this number that she's claiming, and that's your role, obviously, everyone here's role to, interpret these numbers, you would also have to consider that there would be the additional costs associated with the deconversion in addition to these to be able to bring it back to a single family. So her argument of saying, her argument is that financially it needs this much just as it is, let alone if there was more to do.
Okay. So that definitely gives me a little bit more understanding because it just didn't, for me, it just wasn't making sense.
Okay. So that helps you understand it better?
Yes.
Okay. Does that change anything for you?
Probably, yes, it would, because then even if she gave the correct amount of what she would charge for rent as a single, these costs would probably be going up because in order for her to take all these things out, she would have to do additional work if I'm
correct. In addition to the work that the house already needs as basic maintenance.
Got it.
Yes. And the second piece of that is, I think Tyrese is right. I think just the applicant's presentation style, she didn't understand that we were trying to, if you're moving the room, if you're deconverting it, you're going to have to pay to remove those, the kitchen, the living room, and those rooms will therefore become, I would think, bedrooms. People are going to sleep in there. So
yeah, my challenge is that, citizens don't understand this process, and we've just got to be able to understand that as well. As much as we pry and ask them questions, regular citizens don't know what the heck zoning is. So we just I just think we have to be careful of that as well when we're when we're holding these cases or making votes on them, because it's
absolutely. Just being cognizant of where the applicant
challenging
is.
for citizens sometimes, but I'm good. We can move on to case number 3.
I was just going to ask, so do you guys want to revote if that's a possibility? I'm going to defer to Johanna on that, or are we moving on to the next case?
I got the impression you wanted some more information. Is that correct?
Do you still want more information, Lashana, or is what we just discussed sufficient?
No, I don't need any additional information because basically what was just shared was that basically what I'm looking at as the property details is not what it should be, which is to put it back to a single household. And if it was going to be, and if I'm assuming too much, I don't know if we can do that because I wasn't able to get that line of questioning for her because it was just hard for her to understand where I was trying to go with the initial questions, but neither here nor there. Just basically saying that it would cost her more than what she's already putting in to just keep it the way it is, to even just put it back to the single family, if I understand it correctly.
Right, it would be the additional costs. So you don't need any more information then?
No, I don't. I think that my vote would change because the $47,000 is not accurate on what
But I don't know if we can vote based on, do you know what I'm saying?
Well, so it sounds like with the information, the understanding that you have now and this additional information, your vote has changed.
Right, it would change because number one, that the total cost to do this would increase.
Correct, yes, okay.
Depends on,
If you would like to make a motion to rescind the
Amend?
prior vote and revote, you can do that.
I'll make a motion to rescind the vote for case number 2.
I'll second the motion.
I'll pull you all, and this is to rescind that vote. Jim?
Grant,
LaShawna?
Grant.
Tyrese?
Yes.
And Joe?
Yes.
Okay, so at this point, given the further discussion with the better understanding of the application and the financials involved, while still considering the conversation that led up to this point in terms of the other stuff you guys discussed with the character and the other financials. If you want to move forward, someone can make a motion and then I'll poll you again.
I'll make a motion to grant.
I'll second the motion.
Jim?
Grant,
LaShawna?
Grant.
Tyrese?
Grant.
And Joe?
Grant.
Okay, so that motion passes 4-0.
Okay.
Number 3, this is the property on the corner of Thurston and Sheldon Terrace. Open it up to discussion, question. I have to give this applicant a lot of credit for the presentation in detail of the amount of alternatives that he has tried to come up with.
Yeah, I agree, because I was going to ask him the same question, but he answered all of my questions about alternatives. So if you go down the standards, the benefits to the applicant absolutely outweigh the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood. So they benefit tremendously, especially for the safety of children and elderly tenants that live there. Essential character of the area. I mean, it's a solid fence on a corner. Nor, typically we haven't really been big fans of that. But then under listening to that testimony, and he's keeping the front of the property with chain link, that I don't think it's going to have that much of an undesirable change. No other remedy. I think his testimony says he's tried everything from spikes on the wall to signs to calling neighborhood to calling the police. So I would say that there is no other remedy. The significance, I think the fact that it's down at grade level from the wall, if it was up on top of the wall, I don't think it would be more significant, but I think the fact that it's down at grade level, it only presents like you can still see the house and still kind of feel like it's open there along there.
A portion of it's already solid because of the walls there, so.
Yeah, right. And putting a 3-foot fence up on top of that wall, I agree with him, could jeopardize the structural integrity of the wall and create more problems for the guy. So physical and environmental conditions, I don't think it really creates any additional noise, obnoxious odors, things like that. Hopefully it's going to clean up some of the physical conditions of the neighborhood with garbage removal. And, it's self-created. I think society created this for him. So I don't think it's self-created. So I'm going to make a motion to grant if anybody doesn't have any other questions or comments.
A second.
So all those in favor will poll. Jim?
Grant,
LaShawna?
Grant.
Tyrese?
Grant.
And Joe?
Grant.
The motion passes 4-0. Case number 4, the hearing of fences. 147 Hillcrest Street.
Yeah, I would have, Joe was spot on this one with, I wish they would have brought that back to the front of the house, the frontage. I understand the concern and why I'm still confused about why that part of I didn't ask, but why that part of the property is just fenced off entirely.
I got the sense they used that lot for the dogs, that side of the house. Maybe?
Right.
So keep in mind, if she were to move the fence back to the front wall of the house, she wouldn't be here. That'd be code compliant.
Right.
So you're looking at about, I'm looking at the survey map. It looks like the front of the house has about a 9-foot setback from the right of way to the front wall of the house. So you're looking at about a extension into the front yard of about 9 feet, but not directly in front of the house, off to the side.
Yeah. If everybody else is fine with this one, I am.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing, Tyrese, I was thinking maybe just let it come in front of the house a couple feet so the dogs can see the front door. I mean, I kind of saw that advantage of being able to keep an eye on the front door as well.
I just didn't know people still use dogs to this extent. So like, yes, the safety and guard dog. Like I get it, but I didn't, I wish I had that. You just come and ring the doorbell. But
I don't know. Based on the picture that's in the application, I think that dog wants to play.
Yeah.
There's 2 big dogs there, no doubt about it.
Oh, they're beautiful dogs. Oh my gosh. Wow.
If you'd like the fence to be across the front, the reason for that is they'll lose that parcel. I don't know, what'd you say, like 7 feet?
Yeah, they'll lose. Yeah, and the dogs will lose that area. And I definitely think the type of fence that they've selected is definitely an upgrade from the chain link. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they have a chain link there now. We didn't get any public opposition to it, so I don't want to,
So I'll make a motion to grant and to accept the standards and presented in the application.
I'll second that.
Jim?
Grant.
Lashana?
Grant.
Tyrese?
Grant.
And Joe?
Grant.
Motion carries 4-0. Case number 5, this is Reliance in North Clinton fencing. Open it up to comments, questions? Where are folks at with this one?
I think the dog just found out the fence got approved.
I was gonna say, that was perfect timing. So I'm just looking at the diagram here. This is about 56 feet along Clinton Ave. Where are people at with this one?
Well, I've got a bias here because I live literally right around the corner, and it's a beautiful redevelopment of that whole area. They've done a great job there. And I do get it that corner, there's baggers out there, but it's right on the corner of the exit of North Clinton and 104, and they're just a few doors down from there.
It's got a huge parking lot across the street.
And it borders right on North Clinton, and believe me, there's a sea of parking over there. That side of the street, the west side of the street, is nothing that you want to look out as. And I mean,
yeah, that's why I was okay with this one, just because of the area. I don't want to call it industrial, but it does have that sort of feel to it with the highway and just the, sea of parking, like you said, Joe.
Believe me, I put up a 6-foot high fence in my backyard because I just like privacy. This guy's right on North Clinton. That fence being that high, it's not a whole lot, I won't say, but does create some acoustical barrier too. I mean, these cars racing up and down 104 and these motorcycles all night, I'm telling you, I'm 2 blocks away, and it keeps me up some nights. So I just think they've done a great job at that property, and I don't think it's a bad thing. So
one of the benefits to this is they're not blocking in the house at all. It's not starting until the rear of the house.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's not like they're black. I think there's a baseball field right behind their house. So that whole area was redeveloped into a nice neighborhood. So, if you look at the subject property picture that Matt included in there, it's just the whole plaza that is across the street. So that's where I'm at. I can tell I'm in favor of it. So
I'll make the motion to grant.
I'll second.
Jim?
Grant.
Lashana,
Grant.
Tyrese,
Grant.
and Joe.
Grant.
Motion carries 4-0. And the last case of the evening, 33-35 Flower City Park.
Well, it is kind of messy.
Well, I'm gonna, yeah, go ahead, Jim.
It is kind of messy back there, and I like Joe's idea about somehow getting some kind of a pattern. Speaking about the letter of opposition, before we even had this hearing tonight, I said those are all valid points, but not for this application. Those are valid points if somebody wants to go to the former net office. I forgot what they're called nowadays.
NSC.
Pardon?
Neighborhood Service Center, NSC.
NSC. Those are valid. By the way, I didn't say there's ample parking out there. I said there's some spaces. There's a big difference in that, but it's just messy back there, and it's got to get cleaned up. There's very little green space, and of course, you said the walnut trees they're going to be moved out, but still, it's just kind of ugly. It'll look a lot better when it's paved, but how do we have them pave it if we agree to this?
Yeah, I'd like to see a plan of landscaping, some fencing, the paving, something. So I'm gonna propose to hold this, and if he wants to come back with more information, or we deny it and he comes back with a new application, but that's a 2-month process, right?
Yeah, because he'd have to request it. I want to go into a little bit more detail about needing to see a plan. So just so I make sure. So repaving it allows the opportunity to start over. So if you're trying to go over your lot coverage, you're talking about maybe reconfiguring what's there, adding in some green, coming up with a landscaping.
Show me where the cars are going to park or how they're going to park.
Like an actual parking plan.
Yeah, so this is nothing different than we've asked for around the U of R or around Park Ave and East and Alexander and that whole area. But we've asked from the submit something that's a little more meaningful. I mean, if I'm that next door neighbor there, I'd be like, no way. I mean, something that also, where he's going to store his garbage cans, the totes are just out there. I mean, that's just.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Joe. I think where you've gotten the quietness from the neighbors because it's been vacant for 3 years, so now people have gotten used to no one being there. But for me, it just seems like to me, and it just seems like he's trying to get this thing legalized to put it up for sale. So then you don't know who you're going to get and what the condition could possibly be. So I agree with Joe. We want to see some more detail.
Clarifying also snow storage area.
Yep.
Want to put that on there?
Yep. Thank you, Joanna. Snow storage, garbage, tote storage, screening, be it landscaping or physical fence. Jim, I can't remember. Why did you say no one parks in the garage?
Well, the left part of the garage, there's stuff parked out in front, and he says he does have stuff in the garage anyway. I just want to know if the garage doors were operational. But in the photographs,
I think he said the tree, pretty much the roots were kind of creating some issues with it, which,
But two of those cars right now parked out in front of the garage, and the other 2 cars, maybe they could 90 in against what would be the east fence. I don't know if that fit, but there's a lot of space that isn't used and it can become green space. I shouldn't say a lot of space, but on the left side of the garage going towards the back, that could be green. It's just kind of crappy right now.
And I'll be honest, I think like you guys have said, think outside of the box, and it may not look aesthetically great, but take the garage doors off. A lot of cars to create some type of open garage area where they could park in the garage. It didn't seem like it was an issue parking in the garage. It just seemed like an issue getting the doors up.
Yeah, so if those 2 spaces within the garage footprint were available, you may not need the expansion.
Yeah.
I want to just jump in here. So because you're holding, you're willing to go over the lot coverage a little bit with a plan, because otherwise it would just be a denial. But that's what I just want to make sure.
I'm willing to. It's been like 30 years. I mean, I don't want to kill anybody. It's been like this for 30 years. So, but yeah, I'm willing to go over a little bit.
So that's where the plan comes in. Okay, I understand.
What's the date in October, map?
22nd, I believe. Yeah, so the applicant would have the opportunity to come back at that hearing. I would get with him and detail all of this information in a letter. He would be able to come back if he chooses, or he removes it and returns it to the way the survey map was when he bought it. Okay, any other input on that? I've gotten all this stuff down you guys have discussed, so I'll relay that information.
Yeah, so I'm gonna make a motion to hold.
I'll second.
Okay, Jim?
Hold.
Lashana?
I'm okay with holding it.
Tyrese?
Hold.
And Joe?
Hold.
All right, and that concludes deliberations with 2 minutes to spare before 8 p.m.